Chris Eads, and our line is Wootini, here with another one of my Gay Gamer video podcasts. This week, I still want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima, because the bloom has gone off the rose, so to speak. It's lost some of its luster and shine. I'm still enjoying it, but its flaws are becoming clear now that I've played it for a few weeks. And it's like that hot guy at the club that, like, you know, flirts with you, and then you share some drinks and you make out and you're like, this is awesome, and then you realize as you get to know him over time, you're like, oh, well, you're not very interesting, and you're mostly just pretty, and okay. Because what's become apparent as I have played more of Tsushima is that there isn't a lot of variety in the gameplay. Now, I'm still only in Act 1, because the game is trying to send me to the castle. Now that I have my tools and allies and whatever, it's trying to send me to the castle to rescue my uncle, but there's huge chunks of the map that I've not explored, and there's also, like, character side quests that I haven't done yet. They're on the next level, and I'm just like, well, should I go and do those, or what? And I'm like, do I do this and then go back, or... I haven't decided, but I am leaning towards doing whatever I can in the southern half of Tsushima, then going to the castle, because that way I'll have, like, leveled up and gotten stronger armor and weapons and charms and whatever, and that way it'll make the castle siege a little bit easier, maybe? I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that, basically, in Ghost of Tsushima, you go to a location, kill some Mongols, lather, rinse, repeat. Like, that's basically it. There are some other things you can do. There's other activities, like the fox dens and locating the fox shrines, and there's the shrines where you do some rudimentary platforming in order to get a new charm to boost your weapon. But, like, that's not a lot. And then you have, like, when you do a mission, it's basically go here and kill the enemies. And it's basically like, your options are, you can sneak around to kill them, or you could just go right out in front and challenge them. And that's basically as much variety as you're going to get. Now again, I know I said I'm only in Act 1, so maybe in Act 2 everything changes and it becomes way more interesting and complex, but it's just a little disappointing that as the game began, I was like, yay, and then it progressed a little more, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is getting a little repetitive and samey, and I mean, there's different things that you have to do, and I just did a couple of missions that were, like, main story missions that, like, they were long. Like, there was a lot to do, and you had to free multiple prisoners and kill multiple leaders and do multiple things, but it was still basically the same kind of thing. There's not as much variety. And so I can't help but compare it to other similar, you know, open-world map adventure games like this, you know, like the Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey and Red Dead Redemption 2, which I hold as, like, a high watermark of this style of game. Because with Red Dead 2, you really felt like it really felt like a lived-in world that you were exploring and living in. There was so much to do. Even the main story missions had a lot of variety. And I remember saying it at the time, like, I don't know what episode that would have been, but back then when I was playing Red Dead 2, I know there was an episode where I mentioned how happy I was with the variety of missions. Because sometimes it's, you know, a bank robbery, sometimes it's a prisoner rescue, sometimes it's a go kill these guys, you know, sometimes it's to go find a treasure, you know, like, and then in addition to the variety of main missions, there were, like, side missions that also had some variety, and then there were tons of activities like fishing and hunting and, like, bounty hunting and all kinds of stuff, treasure hunts and whatever. So there was just a lot to do in Red Dead 2, So it was a little overwhelming to try to do it all, which obviously I couldn't and I wasn't going to try. But it meant that there was a lot of variety while you're playing the story. And there was always something else you could do if you were like, oh, I don't feel like doing this right now, I'm going to go do that instead. But with Tsushima, it's all very much go to a location, kill a bunch of Mongols, go to the next location and do it again. And also with Red Dead 2, it was a good game. Like, I traveled. I didn't do a lot of fast traveling in Red Dead because stuff happened on the roads. Like, you could encounter side missions on the roads, or even just randos, like someone escaped from a chain gang, wants your help breaking their chains, or somebody who'd been robbed and needs a ride into Saint Denis, or someone who'd been robbed, but then it turns out it's a trick and they try to rob you, and then you have to shoot them dead, because it's like, don't fuck with me. And in Tsushima, riding the roads is basically just, oh look, here's another random group of Mongols. Sometimes they have treasure, sometimes they have a prisoner you have to free, but it doesn't really do anything except give you like a little teeny bit of experience, and that's it. And it's just, so I actually kind of keep off the roads and stay up in the hills and stuff as I'm exploring, because I don't want to waste my time. It's just annoying at this point. I'm just like, ugh, now you're just a nuisance. There was one time when there was a box in the middle of the road, and I was like, what is this box in the middle of the road? And I went over and I opened it, and it was a bunch of supplies and stuff, and I said, oh great, treasure. And then I was set upon by some Mongols, and I thought, oh wow, okay, so it was a trap. Great. So that was the one interesting variation on the theme that I encountered randomly. But also I don't ride the roads in Tsushima because the world itself I find hard to navigate. I think I might have mentioned this in the last episode, but I have to keep checking the map because I can't see where I am just by looking around the world, because it's a lot of hills and trees and that's it. And like, whereas like in Assassin's Creed or Red Dead, like in Red Dead you could say, okay, here, I'm putting you in this location, ride your horse to Saint Denis, without looking at the map. And I could do it. I mean, using the hub, the compass in the HUD, that would help, but I wouldn't even need the mini-map. Like, I feel like that world had landmarks and things, and it was very navigatable. And Tsushima is not, because it's all just grassy hills and trees, and the roads are like little paths, and there's nothing, there's no landmarks, there's no road signs. You can't say, like, oh, this village is this way, you know. It doesn't work like that. Like, so I have to keep jumping back to the map and, like, checking things to see that I'm going in the right direction. And then even once you're in an area, like, if you're in a village, it's just a bunch of samey brown buildings, and it's like I was at the forge, and it was like, oh, I can get an upgrade from the trapper. Where is the trapper? Because you can't even check the map, and it zooms in on the village and says, okay, here are the buildings, and here are the places, and here's where each thing is. It's still just the world map every time. It's always the world map, and there's no way of knowing, and you have to kind of navigate the world to say, like, okay, and I end up just, like, going up and down every little road and around until I can see the little icon glowing inside of a building, and then I'm like, oh, okay, there, I can go over there. There he is. So it's just sort of frustrating. Like, I don't feel like it's a living, breathing world that, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, but I can't really explore it, and I don't want to explore it because there's really no reason to, because I keep getting the same stuff. Like, just yesterday, I decided that I wasn't going to go to the castle. I was going to try to explore this northwest section of the map that I haven't uncovered anything in yet, and there's also a mission up there. So I was going to work my way towards that icon, and I like was working my way over, and I came around the edge of a hill, and suddenly there was this gorgeous, like, home with, like, you know, a porch and, like, a pond and a tree, and it just looked, and a gate for the entrance, and it was beautiful. And I thought, oh, that's not just like a little shack in the woods that I've encountered before. Maybe there's someone in here with, like, an important side quest or something. Maybe there's something cool or a good treasure or something, because this stood out to me as, you know, something important. And it wasn't on the map until I found it, and then it still wasn't on the map, because it turned out that when I walked in through the front gate, suddenly there were a bunch of Mongols to fight. And I fought them, and I killed them, and I went around the house, and it was literally just the same nothing treasure, and there was nothing important inside, and I was just disappointed. Because it looked like it might be something important, and then it was still just the same, go here, kill the Mongols, and move on. And then it's not even a map marker that I can use for fast travel, so I was like, it just looked pretty. Which seems to be the problem with Tsushima, is that it just looks pretty, and there's not a lot of depth to it. So I am hoping, like I said in the beginning, I'm still enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, I'm still enjoying it, it's just, I'm starting to feel how shallow it is. And I'm hoping that once I do get over this and do the castle rescue mission, that going into Act 2, you know, things will pick up and maybe there will be more variety, or not. Because at this point, I feel like I've been playing it for quite a few hours, and the lack of variety is already showing, so like I'm not expecting that once it hits Act 2, suddenly it'll become a different game. I'll have lots of new locations to explore, because I know I've seen pictures, because I follow a lot of virtual photographers on Twitter, and I've seen photos of like snow-covered areas and stuff, so obviously towards the north there's some, you know, weather variety, which is nice. Oh, and I did want to mention one last thing. Speaking of weather variety, I found it weird that you have this flute, and it changes the weather. And the flute will make it sunny, and clear away the clouds, like magically. And as you collect crickets from various cemeteries around the world, you can get other tunes that will make it rain or snow, and I didn't really understand why this was until after playing the game for a week or so, and it was always seemed to be cloudy and rainy, and I said, this is annoying, and I would make it pretty again and make the sun come out. And I realized that that's why they give you that one song at the beginning to make it sunny, because it's going to get cloudy and rain. Because it turns out that the developers made the weather change depending on how you play the game. So if you start using your ghost abilities and sneakily assassinating people, you're being dishonorable. You are not being an honorable samurai, you are being dishonorable, and therefore the weather will get darker and grayer, and it's going to rain a lot and be yucky looking. Whereas if you play the game honorably, the sky will stay sunny. Except for the fact that I suppose you could play the entire game honorably if you were really, really good at the combat, but there are a lot of places with a lot of enemies, and I need to take out a bunch of them separately before I try to actually do a fight with a group. So you could probably get away with it and play the game all sunny and beautiful, but I would say that 99% of us are going to have some shitty rainy weather, and we're going to need to just swipe left on the touchpad and play a little flute melody and make it pretty again. So that's it for this week, and I am still enjoying the game, and I am still going to be playing it, but I'll find other things to talk about in the next episode, so that it isn't all Ghost of Tsushima again. So I will see you then. Bye!